Welcome back to Clay Kids and Crocs. This is Miss Olson and I am teaching virtually. So here we go on our first main project. Within this project, I'm going to first teach you how to roll coils, and then two, how to make a coil pot. I already have most of that shot already, and I already have the pot that I'm going to demonstrate in the rest of this video and show you how to put this together. First, let me show you how to roll a coil. So first thing that you're going to need is a space, and you guys were supposed to create a workspace, is you definitely need a little bit of room to work and roll this coil out. You're going to be stretching it out, maybe about that long, so we got to find some room. That space you may need to cover with material, some sort of material, because if you're rolling on plastic or glass, something that's kind of very flat and no porousness, it will the clay will stick to it. So we need to get that space covered with some cloth. That's the best way. This is my board. And I've already rolled out one coil. It's nice and soft right now, but let me show you another one. So I pulled out a hunk of clay, and I'll roll both of these for us. But the first thing you want to do is form it into this hot dog shape. So forming it into a rough shape of a coil, and it's just kind of a hot dog. You could do a couple of them. So that hot dog shape is really important. The next thing you want to do is, remember that I talked about in our PowerPoint, is you need to roll long. And what I mean is roll from the tip of your finger all the way to the heel of your hand. And I should be able to rotate this 1 to about 3 times by the time I go all the way to the heel of my hand. Now, as I'm pushing down, I'm also stretching sideways, and I'm working the areas that are a little bit thicker than the others. I may lighten up on certain areas. If your clay is nice and responsive, it's good and moist, you shouldn't run into any problems. But sometimes you will have a piece that goes flat on you. And what I mean by flat is it kind of goes, I don't know if you can see this, it will go flat and you can actually hear it. It's a little frustrating when that happens, because now you don't have that perfect coil. And I'm going to show you a couple tricks that you could do. Obviously I'm forcing mine to be flat, but one of the things is you could just come back and do what I was just doing, is kind of push it back in the other direction. But another cool trick that I learned from Neil Patterson's videos is he does this twist. So you twist the coil all the way down and then roll it, and you will find that it goes back into a nice roundness. You may have to work it a little bit just because there'll be little marks in it, and you can work those out. You may find that some of your clay gets a little bit dry. You are handling it, your hands are warm, the water begins to suck out of the clay. You could take, I have here a wet towel, and I could, especially if I wanted to roll a whole bunch of these and have them ready to work on a project, I could just put them inside my wet towel right here and set them off to the side while I'm not working with them. Okay, I'm going to set those right there, and I'm going to roll again. So hot dog. Okay, keep your fingertips up and start rolling. I can hear it going flat on me on this one, so I'm going to lighten up my pressure first, see if that takes care of it. Could be that the piece is a little bit hard and the clay isn't responding very well. Or you could try that trick, that twisting trick. The thickness of a piece should be about a little bit less than the thickness of your thumb, okay? So this is more about the thickness of my index finger. I don't want to get it all the way to pinky thin because half of it goes away. If I roll this right here and pretend to join it, okay, let me come around here. If I join the outside, right now I'm going to join the outside, but so you can see. So I'm joining them together. And if you look over here, it's only the thickness of a pinky now. If I had started out the thickness of a pinky, it will take you a very long time. You'll have a beautiful pot, but it'll take a long time because half of the thickness goes away. So start out with the index finger size and move it down towards the pinky size. How to make a base for your coil pot. Some people are a bit of perfectionists, so I'm going to show you actually how to make a perfectly even 1/4 inch slab, but you don't have to on this particular project. So I've got out a piece of clay, it's not huge, and I'm just kind of pinching it to a 1/4 inch thick. Remember that a 1/4 inch thick is the width of my pinky. So I could do that. I could sort of pat it out if you wanted to. Hoping you guys can see this. And don't want to go too thin. Don't go thin at the edges. We want it to be a 1/4 inch the whole way through. Now, if you're a perfectionist and you want perfectly even the whole way through, you probably have 2 pencils at home and you could put the 2 pencils on the side. They're about a 1/4 inch. I happen to have, I was pulling, this one's only an 1/8, so I don't really want it. It's a little too thin. These are 1/4 inch sticks for sure because I bought them at the hardware store for a 1/4 inch. Or maybe you have a ruler. This one to me also is a little thinner than these 1/4 inch sticks. So I'm gonna put these off to the side and I have a rolling pin. And maybe you have a flat pencil, that's about a 1/4 inch, something like that. But what I do is I get it close to a 1/4 inch, and then my rolling pin, as long as I stay on those sticks, I get a perfectly even 1/4 inch slab, and that can be my base. So it's a little bit small. Maybe you want to go a little bit bigger than that, but I'm going to cut it out right now into the shape I want on the bottom of my coil pot. I went inside, hope my mom doesn't mind. I picked up a glass, and it has 2 sizes of circles. I have the little one and I have the big one, and I'm just going to trace. I don't think this slab is quite as big as I want, but with my needle tool, I'm just cutting. Now, if you were at school, I would say be careful. Do not cut on my table because you will make scratches with your thin little needle tool. Don't do this on your mom's kitchen counter unless you have something under it, please. We don't want to get people mad at us. Here it is. I have a nice circle. It's a little bit rough because I cut it with the needle tool. And whenever you cut something, you want to go back with your fingers and rub down those sharp edges. They do not glaze nicely. This is what I call craftsmanship. When I'm grading craftsmanship, that's what I'm looking for. Did you take care of the sharp edges? So make sure that you pat it all down. Just rub your finger over those edges. I'm going to roll another coil for you and put it on my project. You will need to do this many times for this project. But again, I took out another hunk of clay. I'm making it into a hot dog. Hopefully you have enough room. Sometimes when you're crammed, or maybe at home if you're working in a small area, it gets hard to do this. But hot dog shape, roll long. So rolling. to get rid of that flat sound. There we go. This clay is a little bit hard because I think I left it open one of the nights when I was packing up. I forgot. So I'm just stretching it sideways and trying not to go too thin this time. And that sounds good and looks good. A little bit fatter here. And I'm gonna do a bunch of these. All right, a bunch of coils are now rolled out. I'm going to cover my bag because I'm not using it. And I am ready to start putting coils on this project. So hopefully you can see this. We have the slab here, and I don't know if this is gonna probably go more than all the way around, but you can just push it off like that, or for my perfectionists, this is a little key. I don't think even my advanced students know that. If you overlap them and cut down into both of them, you will have two extra edges. The one down here, okay? And then it will fit perfectly. So remember that I told you that the first coil needs to join all the way. So I'm going to join it on the outside, all the way around, and on the inside. After this first coil, I will only join the inside. Now, some of the problems that I see is you guys get this area too thin, and it's this very little edge, and when you go to lay the next coil on it, there's very little attached to it. So don't let it get poked up too much. Come in here, push down with your thumb, just enough to get connected. Remember that in order for two pieces to stick together, they will stick together because they're wet, but as soon as this begins to dry, you can just knock it off, okay? And in order to stop them falling apart, you have to either join this way or you have to slip and score. And I will try and show that in this video too. All right, I have the first coil attached all the way around the outside, all the way around the inside. Make sure that happens so that the bottom doesn't fall off from the walls. I rolled out some coils. Just so you know, sometimes when you roll out a bunch of coils and you're gonna work with them, they can kind of dry out. So I wrapped mine in my wet towel so they won't dry out while I wanna work with them. And I'm just covering them up. I made sort of a donut to go as the second ring, and I am going to join it and do the same thing. You want to join every time you put a coil on, otherwise you end up with 5 coils on and it's too tall to reach down and get it. So I'm going to do a little joining. Okay. So sometimes, like I was just saying, you can get 5 high and you suddenly forgot to join it and you can't reach it with your fingers anymore. I will use this tool. This is your wood modeling knife, and this has a nice curve to it, and you can come in here and push this down. Now, one of the things that I don't like is it leaves lines. So those are not so great when you go to glaze. They can end up being sharp. So I just come back in with my thumb and push all those joining areas down so that they're nice and smooth. All right, wood modeling knife. I joined the inside, but I left the outside, and this is when I want to start leaving the coils alone. It's nice and smooth inside, but the coils on the outside I want to start showing, and now I'm going to start doing my decorating phase. Maybe you want to put some spirals in. I made this one a while ago, so it's kind of not so, I'm afraid I'll break it. But maybe if I put it under here with the water, it'll be good. Anyways, you might want to try some squiggles. Make a spiral. I don't know what you want to do. You can break it off or you can cut it off. And then you can begin to build up some of these edges or the next layer. Maybe you want another spiral right here. Now, once you decide what you would like to do on your next layer, if it's something like this, what I could do, these spirals can be joined right now. And I'll have that be the pretty part in the front and my joined area in the back. This makes it strong. If it is touching a piece next to it, above or below it, it should join, and that way it makes a really nice strong pot. Same with this one. Let's say I want to put this on something like that, okay? I am going to go ahead, lay this flat, join it up. It does not, you could leave a little bit of a gap if you wanted to. I'm just gonna make this hole a little bit bigger. And you could have a little bit of a hole, that's okay. We're not trying to hold water on this project. We are just trying to have it so that your tools won't slip through. So see how I joined it all up? Looks pretty good on this side. Maybe I want to fix this because I kind of pushed through with my needle tool. But then I put it here, and because it's touching below, I'm going to push this part into the coil below it. And that way it's all joined up. When I take my spiral right here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to push it next to the piece that it's touching, below the piece that it's touching. And I'll just keep working my way around. Okay, I made that medallion sort of into a tear shape. I just wanted to try something different. And then I took one of these really long coils here and sort of laid it over, and I'm going to leave some gaps, but I wanted to connect all of these kind of loose, somewhat loose pieces to a top piece before I move too much farther. And maybe I'm gonna put another piece right in here. I'm not sure. I don't know if I want to leave that big of a gap or not. It's kind of a lot. Maybe you take one of these pieces and you put something right in here. Anyways, I've got some joining to do, but I wanted to show you something else before I moved forward. And that is when I connect, sometimes I will put my hand at the back of the piece, so I'm not just pushing it, I'm also supporting it from the back, because I need to do some joining below, above, bring this up, and as you're pushing outward, you can topple your piece. So you need to be supporting from the back, twisting, connecting. If it's touching, make it connect. If it's not touching, you can leave small gaps, but don't leave too big of gaps. Like I said, I think this area is too big without this support in it. And I don't want my tools to slip out the holes, that sort of idea. So I've got some more joining and some smoothing to do on this before I add more coils. I wanted to show you how to make slip and how to slip and score, because now my pieces are leather hard and they're not connecting well and they are going to fall apart. So all you need to do to make slip, sometimes I will make enough to put into a little medicine bottle then this has sort of, it keeps it the air from drying out. But you could just take a little bit of clay and make a tiny little pinch pot, okay? And all you're gonna do, hang on, gotta grab my water. So I got some water, and let's see if I can add just a little bit in here, not too much, and begin to create muddiness. So my fork doesn't want to fit in there very well. Let's get a little bit more water. Okay, and scratch. Slip is just muddy clay. So you could just create your own little slip when you're ready to use it and kind of keep the bowl off to the side. But one of the things I did is I made some, like that iguana, that parts were poking out. I kind of like that idea, so I made some little ones. And then I had some extra that I cut off the other side. I think these are on okay, but up here these are starting to dry. This area is starting to dry, so I'm going to take my fork, and it's got slip on it, and I'm going to basically score. This is scoring, and I'm going to put that there. So this is where I'm going to score on this one. Score, score, put the slip in there, come back and score again, and then wiggle those two into each other. I don't want the outside messed up. I kind of like the look of it. So if you like the look of something, then you have to slip and score. That's the joining way. So in here, I think I can take my, well, maybe this tool. It's, again, getting kind of hard. And push that clay around while I support it on the outside. Hopefully you can see this. I'm going to do this on this piece also. I sort of made a little rainbow right here, and you can see how it's just pulling out. So I'm going to slip and score that piece in next. Okay, so I add a little bit more to my pot, made it a little more secure. I wanted to just show you, you could take 3 pieces and you could braid them. Maybe you want to seal them together on one end and then just do some braiding, if I can remember how to braid. Okay, braid, 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 real quick braid. Maybe yours will be, a lot of times when I'm working like this, showing you guys things, I'm not as exact as I might be, and slow and methodical in my process. So there's a quick braid. I could put this up here. But before I put it up, I want to join the back of it. You could even do a little bit of smashing down so it's not too thick, but I'm connecting. And again, smooth it out some more, and then be able to put this up and add a good inch to my pot right there. So there's some there. Maybe you want to take one and twist it. You're going to do the exact same thing as the braid, where you're going to connect the back of it above, below, and next to. If it's touching a piece of clay, above, below, or next to it, it should join. So let's see how this looks now that I kind of flattened it out. How's that? Not too bad. So I could just stick this in here, go around all the way around, and then probably I would put one last coil on just to pull the whole pot together and kind of solidify the top. Remember, it's just sitting on here right now. It's joined together nicely on the braid, but I mean the twist, but you're going to have to connect down below inside to get it to go. Also remember that your inside should look very smooth. I should not see any of these coils joining. I shouldn't see the lines on the inside. So you want to make sure all those lines are pressed together, pressed down. Last but not least, another requirement of yours is how tall? 5 or more inches. So I've got at least probably 2 more coils to go. The handle doesn't count, remember? So if you want to put a handle on afterwards, that's fine, but I've got some more to go on this pot. I finished up, I added a couple more coils, and I thought, I'll just use this little twist that I did and make a handle. This is 5 inches right now, and now I'm going above. So I slipped and scored a little bit in here, and I split it, so opened it up the twist, the 2 pieces, and put it on both sides, the inside and the outside. And then I just want to add that extra thickness to that area. Maybe you can even wrap a coil around. And another thing, reason I like to stay small, you could take some extra, a tiny little piece like this. Here's my water. Maybe I'll score it before I do this. A little bit of scoring. A little bit of scoring here. It turns into mud, the water does. So put those 2 pieces together. See if this will work. Here's my medallion stamp, and I'm supporting from the back. And now I have a little, almost like a button that is holding it together. It pressed in, so I don't want to mess with it anymore. But as it was pressing in, it also sealed in here where I had split those out. So I'm done, and the last thing I need to do is put my name on the bottom so that I get the piece back. Don't forget your period also. Your very last thing to do will be to wrap it in a plastic bag so it doesn't dry all the way to bone dry. I want you to keep it at leather hard stage even when it's done until we fire it. So keep it leather hard, and then when we put it outside and I load it in the kiln, then we'll let it go bone dry after we don't have to handle it and take it in cars and bumps and things like that. So wrap it up and you're done. All right, we're done. I just wanted to kind of show you a roundabout on it, how I have finished up. I put a coil right in here that had some texture on it, did the little button stamp, and this is ready to go. And that's it. Hope you guys have fun with this project. Go be creative.